Hey, how's everybody doing today? It is the Keenest Fox here, and this is my channel where I talk about anime, video games, and cartoons. Today's topic may include some spoilers from The Last Ronin and other TMNT stories, so if you haven't read or watched any of this, I encourage you not to watch this video. If you know who Michelangelo Hamato is from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, you would know he's the youngest with the orange bandana. He's usually the goofiest, lighthearted, and friendlier compared to his brothers. A lot of people would see him as stupid and immature without realizing how much depth he has. In the Mirage comics, Michelangelo is underutilized since Leonardo was the leader, Raphael was Kevin Eastman's favorite, and Donatello was Peter Laird's favorite. Mikey has the heart of a child, as shown in his one-shot micro-series, as he makes quick friends with other children. His love for toys and his compassion of animals is shown here. He even stopped a bunch of criminals from stealing from an orphanage on Christmas. What a lot of fans didn't know until Rise is that Mikey is very creative. In Mirage and Image, he's a novelist, so he writes his own stories. Stories so good it impresses Oprah Winfrey herself. He's also a comic book writer and opened a foster home for children in the future from the Archie comics. And those are some of Michelangelo's interests. But what about his tragedies? Michelangelo has been through some ordeals as his brothers on their journey. They've all failed to kill the newly revived Shredder, they have lost loved ones at one point, and constantly burdened with the responsibility of saving Earth. But Michelangelo has some tense moments of his own, like when Raphael nearly killed him out of blind rage, which he easily forgives him for later. He almost sacrificed another stray cat to save his own, in Tales of Tmnt Volume 2, Issue number 9, but later chose not to after realizing the stray's life wasn't worthless compared to Clunk. Then, years later, in Teenage Mutant Turtles Volume 4, Michelangelo falls in love with an alien princess named Siri. Siri gets impregnated by him, and her guardsman captures and imprisons him on another planet. Michelangelo was mentally and physically drained, being abandoned, heartbroken, beaten, and starved. He managed to escape due to his Triceraton friend Zazak's sacrifice. Later, he joins a Triceraton resistance group to seek revenge on Siri. In the third movie, Turtles in Time, Michelangelo was considering on staying in the past to be with a girl named Mitsu he fell in love with. But when he realized she wasn't interested and that she was in love with someone else, he went back to his time with his brothers. And rumor has it that there was a sketch of Mikey in the first movie that involved him training excessively. It's even shown in the comic book adaptation. This was what he turned to cope with Raph's coma and Splinter's kidnapping. In the 2007 movie, Michelangelo takes up a job as a party entertainer for kids and becomes unhappy with his job. When Leo left prior to the movie, Mikey and the Turtles started drifting apart without any guidance and later became in sync again when they were fighting the Stone Generals. In the Out of Shadows movie, Michelangelo had a moment where he felt rejected when the police held them and his brothers at gunpoint, calling them monsters. In the IDW comics, Michelangelo and his family were killed by the Shredder from their previous lives in the feudal era. In this version, Mikey has a lot of promise and likely more talented than his brothers. He was the first to realize he can use memories from his past life and apply them to his current one. This is how Michelangelo is able to speak and read in Japanese fluently. He also caught Shredder by surprise when him and his brothers fought him together. Shredder even told him that he was kind of impressed by his fighting ability. Mikey even threw hands at Master Splinter at one point in the comics. Then there's the time Mikey became the new leader in an alternate future 20 years later, since Leo had been exploring his mystic powers more and stepped down, whereas Mikey took the position. But this version of Mikey is what convinced me to want to do this topic. He reminds me of Steven Universe, both being young, friendly, coming of age, but in the final arc, Steven becomes a monster, and building up to this, yet he was in distress due to his PTSD and inner turmoil. For Michelangelo, however, his world was falling apart, collapsing in on himself. I think this is started in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles issue number 50, where he was against Splinter's decision to become the new leader of the Foot Clan. Because of this, Mikey became disconnected from his brothers and Master Splinter especially. It wasn't until Splinter killed Darius Dunn for his brothers to take into account that Mikey was right all along. Before that, Michelangelo joined the Mutanimals despite his history with Old Hob, but because Hob was smuggling weapons and hiring guys like Hun as help, Michelangelo found himself without another surrogate family. Later, after the Ninja Turtles rescued a bunch of orphan children who were abducted by the Rat King, Splinter placed them under his care. However, Michelangelo was against the idea of them being raised to become foot ninjas. There, he fought his own dad over the children until Splinter proposed that they should be entitled to stay or join when they're old enough to decide. Michelangelo even expresses his dilemma to Peter Venkman when he was about to have an emotional breakdown over this. Later in TMNT issue number 100, when Splinter dies for the sake of restoring cosmic balance, his children becomes crushed. Raphael becomes an infamous vigilante. Jenica feels out of place, being without her mentor and facing the hardships of her new life, and the others mourn Splinter's passing at April's farmhouse. Donatello leaves the farmhouse because of Leo and Mikey's awkwardness. Leo turns to gardening, and Mikey turns to his version of Clunk for compassion. But when Clunk goes missing, this brings Michelangelo to tears, that even minor problems can negatively impact Michelangelo at this point. I also forgot to mention Michelangelo's friendship with Slash in this incarnation. Slash started out as a mindless monster who attacked Mikey's friend Woody, which almost created a wedge between them. Later, Slash started to idolize Mikey for his kindness, like when he offered him a candy bar. Even when he gained enhanced intelligence, he continued to admire Mikey still. When Slash died, Michelangelo was the one to speak out at his funeral, before old Hob rudely interrupted his eulogy. Currently in the comics, Michelangelo is with his family again in the mutant portion of New York. Mikey is also idolized by the kids and planning on making his own radio show. So stay tuned to that. Now we get to the last Ronin. In the last Ronin, the last remaining turtle is revealed to be Michelangelo. I believe the concept Kevin and Peter had back in the day was intended to add more value for the character. It's an Elseworld story set in the year 2040, where Splinter, Leonardo, Raphael, and Donatello are dead, and Michelangelo tries to avenge their deaths by going after Hiroku Hirotsu, the Shredder's grandson. But after failing to assassinate him, Michelangelo attempts to commit suicide, believing he has no more reason to live. And it's surprising to hear Michelangelo is the protagonist here, since Raphael is usually violent and vengeful, who I believe was the one to be getting a rated R comic. But it's even more shocking how the friendliest and affectionate turtle is burdened with this. But that's all I wanted to say about him and why Michelangelo is somewhat an underrated character. I didn't mention much of him in the cartoons, but even in those, he shows a lot of heart and promise as a character. He's the champion of the Battle Nexus tournament in the 2003 cartoon. He adapted quickly to Dimension X's physics in the 2012 cartoon, and he helped reform Baron Drax in the 2018 cartoon. So, if you think poorly of Michelangelo, or if you like him for being the funny, goofy guy on the team, hopefully this will broaden your view on him.